Alito.
Alito.
Sa Chofaya J. Trujillo. Chata Numpabika, Holy Slaw Pisa. Aima et Chimanopoli Sabana. Micha Kanimi Hon Hapimanopaya. Hapim Okla, Micha, Hapim Sovereignty. Alko Chahina, Ishinopoli La Chinakina. Hello, my name is Jake Trujillo, and I want to talk with you today about a Choctaw language immersion program and the importance that the language has to our culture and our sovereignty of the Choctaw Nation. So what is a Choctaw language immersion program? It's a program that literally immerses students, tribal members, or associates into a program where they can only speak, read, or write Choctaw from dusk till dawn, the entire time that they are awake. They cannot interact in any other language the entire time throughout the program. It's been a quite difficult task. The Cherokees have accomplished it, but they did it through a long process. And I want to get into how that process is going to work with the Choctaw Nation, but I want to get into a couple other questions first. So just from the raise of hands, how many people have taken a foreign language class before? What was it? Spanish? Spanish?
Spanish.
What did you learn from taking Spanish classes?
Hola.
Hola! Hola! Yeah. We learned the pleasantries of the language, right? Can anybody hold a conversation in Spanish? No.
It was my
Well, just like me, in high school, I took Spanish, but I can't. Hello, goodbye, my name is, where's the bathroom, and can I order a beer? Which would work really well if I was visiting a small town just south of the border, or a resort town somewhere. Learning a second language is really, really hard. You only really learn it by immersing yourself into the society and the culture of that country or that area. For like Spanish, for example, you're only going to learn to become a fluent Spanish speaker if you live in, say, South America or a predominantly Spanish-speaking area. You're not going to learn it from a book. There are programs out there like Rosetta Stone that help out, but still, that thing makes things even more difficult. So, immersing yourself in those Spanish areas, you have to interact with the people, right? You have to be able to order food, or ask where the post office is, or if you need help, please. You got to learn that language. It's basically, if you go and you live in South America or a predominantly Spanish-speaking area, you are forcing a simulation on yourself to those areas so that you can survive. Otherwise, you'll just starve to death, or move back home with mom and dad, or whatever. Maybe mom and dad took you down there and there were missions, and you had to learn that. You had to learn that area. So I want to discuss the sovereignty and the importance of sovereignty. And for many tribes now, sovereignty has been a huge issue, both inter-tribe and with the U.S. tribal relationship. Our sovereignty is built on our culture. And in turn, our culture is built off of our language. So I've had a lot of first speakers tell me that if we lose our language, we lose our culture. And in turn, we lose our sovereignty. That's why it's so important that our language is kept alive, and our cultures are kept alive, so our sovereignty can stay alive. The Choctaw language has fascinated a lot of people. Just learning the Choctaw language and sitting down in some of these courses. And I've done presentations in the past. I did a presentation here at the college for Choctaw University, in which we did a stewardship presentation. But my partner, Nicholas Charleston, he's a speaker. He's also an employee over the language department. He did the entire presentation in Choctaw. I translated in English. But I stepped back, and when he was speaking, I would watch the audience. They were just like, yeah, I have no clue what he's saying, but they were completely amazed and fascinated by what he was speaking in native tongue. So that brought in a whole nother scenario of why don't we know our own language as Choctaw people? We have 250,000 members of the Choctaw Nation. And I was trying to figure out how many of our 250,000 people can speak Choctaw. So I stopped by Language Department a couple days ago and I asked them, what's a good estimate? They thought around a little bit and said 2,000. And that's generous. It'd be probably close to 7 or 8% of 250,000 people can speak their native tongue. That completely amazed me. And because the Choctaw Nation has done so much, just in the past 25 years, we have developed a language program. We begin recording our first speakers. We sit them down, we ask them questions, have conversations with them, and record the way that they express the dialect, the way they roll their tongue, the way they breathe, nasal effects, so that we can perfect it all the way down and keep it, write down in dictionaries, write it down in curriculum, so we can teach it to other people. We created hymnals, we created Christmas songs off of what they have pulled from recordings. We've even created apps for your phone, Android and Apple phones. So you can get on the app and you can learn and hear what the phrase is and say it and repeat it and do it over and over and over again. So it's muscle memory. That's how I did the first introduction. Muscle memory. I worked with the language department. We put together what I wanted to say in the grammatically correct, and then studying it, learning it. That's how you learn another language, right? Muscle memory, doing it over and over and over again. So a Choctaw language immersion program will dig in a little bit deeper than what our day-to-day curriculum classes will do. And it's been tossed around, how are we going to do this? What's the first step? How are we going to start? And here's my suggestion. We start out small. A small group of people, a 90-day program. Bring in only Choctaw members who are also Choctaw associates. That way we can pay them. An incentive of going to this is, you get paid. Your family and your bills are still taken care of. And that way you don't have to step away from your job to go somewhere and worry about, is my family going to eat, or is my electricity going to stay on? So we have to have that incentive of paying them. Additionally, bring in the first speakers too. Everybody has a job. Everybody has something that they have to pay the mortgage, they have to pay the car payment. Everybody has a job. So we have to be able to pay these people just as if they're doing their job, but separating them from everything else. We'll pull the funds for that from our general fund, since we don't have a program already in place that has funds going to it. And also, since we're going to be immersing these associates into the language, we're going to have to provide room and board for them too, because they can't go back home and speak English at the end of the day. And to do that, the Jones Academy is already set up for that in Hartshorn. Right now, the Jones Academy provides room, board, and education for over 200 students every year. They live on property. They eat up. We've got a boys and girls dormitory, a full cafeteria, and they've actually added a whole bunch of new educational rooms in it too. So that makes this the perfect site to do that. They can go live within the Jones Academy area and be immersed in the Choctaw language, as the students are doing too. The students are learning Choctaw. They're learning Choctaw in their writing and literature and math, as well as English. So this is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and do that. The participants will then spend the next 90 days reading only Choctaw, speaking only Choctaw, and writing only Choctaw. It's like you're being assimilated into the Choctaw country, just like the Choctaw people are assimilated into English country. We're just reversing the effect, right? Good idea. The program can be then grown after its first run. If it's successful and it works out right, it can be grown into a much bigger and better, longer program. I honestly would like to have it to the point where I could take my entire family, my kids, fiance, we all go, we all learn Choctaw together, we can encourage each other, and then when the program's over, we go home, and the immersion never really stops, because we go home and we take all that with us, and we continue to speak Choctaw and live the culture inside of our home. So I want to play a short video for you all. This video was taken from the Biskadick, and it was narrated by Seth Fairchild, and the title of the video is called Bisnick Language, and he talks about our code speakers, our code talkers during the World Wars. But there's a section here that I cut out that has the Assistant Director of the Language Department, Teresa Billy, and she talks about the importance of the Choctaw language program, and the importance of the language to the tribe.
There was a pilot program that started here in Durant to 5 area local high schools to just see what it would be like to offer Choctaw language through the interactive TV. And so it was a success. So from there, they started picking up schools, 10, 15, 20, which has gotten us up to about 45 schools. We were unique in that we were the only school in Oklahoma offering Choctaw language as a credit. And see, that was part of the law back in 1992, and some years forward, they began to say that you can take native language as a foreign language. Of course, we know we're not the foreign language, but you can take credit in high school, and you can also take it at the college level. So that had already been established just some years previous. That's why it was a green light for us to go ahead and go into the school systems. The main objective of the language program is to encourage and involve as many learners as we possibly can to learn the language, and at the same time knowing that people need resources and they need materials, that fluent speakers are not always going to be here to provide that instant answer for so many things. And so we're leaving behind, we're creating curriculum, we're creating textbooks, we're just finding different avenues and ways that we can leave it behind, even in using technology. The biggest challenge is that we cannot stay caught up with the loss of our fluent speakers, that every week we have 2 or 3 that die that are speakers. Those are things you cannot recover. So we know that even though with what we're leaving behind, even with the knowledge that we're passing on, there's still a deeper level, so much deeper levels of communication and understanding probably are not going to be recovered. So that is a challenge, and it is scary, and it is sad because we don't want to see that. But even though people are learning, it's not at a very fast rate, at the rate that we're losing it faster.
I want to really point out what she said in there was very, very important, was that we cannot teach fast enough. We're losing our fluent speakers. Not 1 a year, not 1 a month. We're losing 2 to 3 a week. We're losing fluent speakers faster than we can teach people how to speak Choctaw. That's why right now, this is the most important time in Choctaw history. This is the time where we really need to have this Choctaw immersion program. It's the only way that we're going to keep our language alive. And that's imperative that we have a program like this so that we can teach more mass amount of people before we lose our first speakers, before we lose the ones that are fluent in speaking the language. So like I said earlier, we lose our language, we lose our culture, and turn our sovereignty. So that's important that our language is kept alive. So I want to encourage you all, go and speak with our tribal councilmen. If you're tribal members, is anybody here a tribal member? Okay. Go speak with our tribal councilmen. Go speak with Chief Batten or Assistant Chief Austin and tell them that we need a Choctaw language immersion program now. We need it like right now. Tell them about this presentation. I'll have it up on YouTube. You can be able to look it out on YouTube. Share it with people. It's important. It's what is developing the Choctaw Nation. It's something that we really need as a tribe to continue to pass our language along. I welcome the day when, let's say, my children's children learn Choctaw language as a first language and English as a second. As she said in the video, we're at 45 different schools right now teaching the Choctaw language. It says we teach Spanish in high school or as a minor in college. So that could happen. Just in the past 25 years, we developed an entire program, began recording people and getting into school districts. It's a lot of momentum that we have built up in the past just in the 25 years. That's really not that long. For development of the language and teaching and curriculum. It's taken the Choctaw Nation to the forefront as a successful and accomplished tribe. So let's not stop that momentum. Let's keep moving forward, teaching our culture, teaching our practices, and most importantly, teaching our language. Anybody have any questions?
With the immersion program that you're suggesting, how long the program? are you thinking that would be?
I'm thinking a 90-day program just to start out first. The Cherokees did it from kindergarten all the way through until well past college. I think a 90-day program at first would be a good tester to get select some people, put them in the program, and run them through that program, teach them the language. It's like you're going back to school again. You're going back to elementary school. You wake up every day, you're in school. At the end of the day, you're done. But at the end of the day, when you're done learning in class, you go and you're going to eat, and you're going to try to converse with people at Choctaw. And as it goes on, that muscle memory starts happening. I think a 90-day program is sufficient to see where we sit. You know, this hasn't been done before. We're doing language classes, one weekday a week each month. So right now, Mondays at 6 p.m. is language 1 over at the language department, and it's about 2 hours. And the language 1 is just teaching you like what a desk is, what a book is, so a book. You know, they teach you the nouns. They teach you the pleasantry. Hello, goodbye, my name is, that's about it. But as they move into conversational, as you get on further, and I think once that muscle memory starts kicking in, you're not going to remember words for everything in a 90-day program, but it's going to give you a good base to continue learning the more difficult stuff. Because now you know the grammar, you know the does and us and how to put a sentence structure together. I think that it may expand into a 6-month program or a year-long program, or like I said, taking the whole family. I don't know, year-long vacation to Jones Academy. I don't know how good that will be, but it has a possibility of being bigger. I think a pilot program at 90 days is sufficient to see where we stand as a tribe and as how well our fluent speakers are as teachers too. To pass that language along.
You mentioned Jones Academy. So is your idea here, the immersion program, is that are you arguing to bring it in with the students that are already there, or to bring in additional students, like adult students and things, to come in and kind of be in?
The students in Jones Academy are already learning Choctaw as a language. It's part of the curriculum. So this would be, because it's already set up with dormitories and a cafeteria, and it's segregated away from the normal day-to-day life, English-speaking life. We have to have somewhere where we can take somebody and segregate them from everything else so that they are assimilating into the Choctaw language. So you have to have somewhere you can have room and board and cafeteria. Jones Academy was a good idea for that because they already do it. They do it with over 200 children a year. So we could use some of the dorms there, bring adults, specifically Choctaw associates who are members. Okay. So adults who are being paid or already being paid by the Choctaw Nation. So they step away from their normal duties as an EVS worker or a maintenance worker or an accounting technician or whatever. Step away from their normal duties for 90 days. They still receive their paycheck of what they were making while they were in their job, but they just go for 90 days into this program and be immersed in that program. And then in the 90 days, they go back to their normal jobs. And that can kind of work because that 12-week FMLA kind of kicks in. You got to have no more than 12 weeks of time away from the position in order to save that position. So we can still fall within the policies of the Choctaw Nation to bring them back into their jobs at the end of the program. Cool. All right. Well, okay. CPC let you. Thank you. And now pass across again. All right. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.